everybody. How are you? We are hanging out with you guys live. We're really excited to be here with you. Dana and I just put the kids down to sleep. I hope they stay there. And we might have to take off and grab a screaming baby or two, but that's what happens when you're live, right? We have some friends with us from the Cayman Islands. Hi, guys. So they are the QuadSquad channel, and I'll link to them in the description below of this video, or there's an interactive card. You can click on that to get to their channel. But tell us about it real quick before we start talking about homeschooling stuff.
Yeah, so we homeschool, which is kind of the basis of our channel, and we do a lot more in our day than just the typical academic subjects. And so we quickly learned that the kids learn a lot more through hands-on activities, and our channel kind of developed to use crafting, cooking, and different types of learning to encourage other kids to learn in ways that they don't often get a chance to in typical schools. So it kind of reflects our way of homeschooling and using a lot of activities.
Yeah, a lot of cool videos of your kids doing those different activities together. I'm just impressed that you have them all sitting right there with you.
It may not last long.
We don't even try anymore. It's just me and Dana. Oh, well, it's good to have you guys. And for those of you who are watching this, we're going to be answering your questions about homeschooling. We're going to start with one of the most common ones, which is, why do you homeschool? So we'll start with that one. But Erica, I see you. We'll answer your question. Hi, Daria, Anastasia, Midnight Shadows, Sapphire. How do you say that? Sapphire. Michaela, Zoe, Ashley. Good to see you guys. Jennifer. And we'll have fun answering your questions. So feel free to leave those in the chat, and we will get to them as we can, just to kind of hang out with you guys and answer some of your questions. So first of all, let's talk about you guys for one more second. You're on the islands. Tell us, what is it like to live on a tropical island?
Well, the Cayman, Well, the Cayman Islands is three small islands just south of Cuba, if you're wondering where it is. It's known around the world as being a major financial center. There are a couple hundred banks here, but there's only 30 to 50,000 people. We'll get 20,000 visiting in cruise ships on a given day. But locally, it's like living in a small town, but in a beautiful island. Weather-wise, there's maybe 9 or 10 days in the whole year that are rainy and dark and cloudy. Other than that, it's beautiful.
Most of them are at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Do you guys eat a lot of coconuts?
They're getting into coconuts.
Cool. Well, let's talk about this first question, and then I see some people asking some questions in chat about homeschooling too. But let's start off with the most common one: is why would you homeschool your kids in the first place?
Well, originally it started because we were living in 3 countries in a given year. A few months in the U.S., a few months in Canada, a few months here in Cayman. And so it sort of started out as meeting the need of having that flexibility. But the chemistry between Kathleen, who really leads it, and the kids has worked out so well that we carried it on. Plus, here in Cayman, as expats, private school is your only option, and that could be very expensive. So homeschooling has been both affordable as well as the ideal teaching method for the kids.
Okay. Why do we homeschool?
I'll let you take that one.
You don't want to talk about it? We have talked about this at length in other streams and other videos, but it comes down to several different things, and I would say it probably mostly comes down to influence. Like, we want to be the primary influence in our kids' lives, and it's impossible, I would say impossible, but it's very difficult to do that when you're sending them away for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then you get like some mornings, evenings, and weekends with them. And so we like being the primary influence of our kids' lives, learning and teaching them some of the things that they won't get in school, as well as making sure they don't learn some of the things they would get in school. Like, your kids have bad attitudes anyway, but I feel like we would have to unteach and unschool them from a lot of the things that come when your peers become your primary influence. And so that's a big part of it. Plus, we like the freedom and flexibility it provides. Like, if we're going to, that's one of the reasons I like working for myself, is I get to be in control of my schedule. And I feel like as soon as we put our kids in school, then we would have to be going by the school schedule. We'd have to, like they kind of determine our life's rhythm at that point. And plus, then they come home with homework to do anyway, which I'm gonna have to help them with. So if I'm gonna do school with them, I might as well just do it. So, do you have any other? No, you're really quiet tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to say anything?
I'm good.
You know, I asked Justin in the car the other day, do you like being homeschooled and what do you like about being homeschooled? And he surprised me because he said that he really likes that he gets to see his brothers and his sister in the day. And, you know, you think about that. And if they were gone to school all the time, like especially with the younger siblings, they'd only see them a little bit at night. Like it develops stronger family ties, I think.
Yeah, and the stronger relationships and yeah, and I just like even we were at the homeschool convention here last weekend, and it was just our vlog that you guys saw yesterday. And I cut the clip out, but there was like one clip in there where that I shot. It was like a totally different vibe from like VidCon, where you have all these screaming teenage girls running around everywhere, and the parents are like locked up in the hotel room. And then there's the homeschool convention where you have all these teenage guys sitting around quietly playing chess and having intelligent conversations and stuff. I was like, what? Way different than VidCon. And I also like that. Like our kids develop adult relationships. Like everyone seems to be concerned about like, well, what about their social interaction with their peers, which is important, and they get that. But no one has ever asked us like, well, what if, like if you send your kids to school, like what's their interaction going to be like with adults or with you as parents, you know? And our kids think of a lot of mine and Dana's friends as their friends. And when mine and Dana's friends come over, our kids talk with them and play with them like they are their friends, you know? So I
I'd
think
agree with that. I'd agree with all the things you said earlier too, in terms of the influence on kids. The other thing that I find is good is like Ethan and Justin, they'll get up at 6:30 in the morning, and they'll be done half their independent work by 8 o'clock. Gives us definitely more flexibility, but I think also you can customize the education to the uniqueness of each kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to say that if the chemistry wasn't there between Kathleen and the kids, it wouldn't work. Like homeschooling doesn't work for every family because of the chemistry dynamics. And we've been really monitoring to see if it's effective. And for us, it's worked really well.
Yeah. Totally. Cool.
Get the kids on out so we can.
Thanks, guys.
Concentrate. Bye, kids.
Bye.
Bye. So let's answer some of the questions here, guys. Did you see a question that you wanted to start with? This one or?
I was looking at that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Jennifer Sparks asked, do you feel like the kids learn social skills when they're only with their siblings? I have two answers for that one. The first one is, of what I've seen, our kids and our friends that homeschool as well usually have more kids than our friends that send their kids to school. Like we have 6 kids, and a lot of people that we know only have like 2 or 3. And so they don't have as much interaction with other kids. Plus, having siblings, they learn how to work together with kids of different ages, which I think is very valuable because the older ones learn how to help with the younger ones learn how to talk and behave from the older ones. But they're also not only just with their siblings too. Like just today, our kids had some friends over that are homeschooled as well because Tim was having a business meeting, and the dads in this area usually take their kids with them whenever they have business meetings and stuff. And so the kids can interact with the other kids, and they also learn how to behave on an adult level.
Yep. I was going to add something to that, but you did it good. Yeah. You guys have any response to that? Like, do you feel like your kids learn social skills when they're just with their siblings?
Yeah, we were talking about this just the other week that, you know, there's a lot of conflict resolution that kids have to learn when they got to work it out with kids, with their siblings, and the siblings are all different ages, right? So it's not just that they're with their own age group and their own maturity level for the day, like they would be in a classroom setting. But I think also, you know, the biggest question, which this kind of, I've seen it in chat, but is about socializing your kids, right? And that's probably also what that person was asking. And you know, you can get socialization in a lot of different ways outside of your home, and not all socialization that kids get in school is good. So, like we have lots of activities that the
Oh,
kids
yeah.
are involved in outside of homeschooling where they're with other kids. And
Yeah.
it's important.
Like
Another
whether sports programs or church programs or neighborhood kid gatherings or other homeschool groups, it's definitely important to make sure they get interaction with lots of people. So it's really a
Another plus that I
lifestyle.
was talking to a friend about the other day is like our first two are 13 and a half months apart. And one of the big differences that I had seen whenever we were first having kids, and a lot of our friends were first having kids, but most of them only had one within the 1 year frame, is our kids worked a lot better with sharing than our friends' kids that didn't have any siblings. And so Hannah and Zeke have always known that they have to get along and share and how to do that conflict resolution. As another child that only has or doesn't have any siblings and is having to learn that outside the house. But it's a lot harder when you get into the house, and when you have friends over, it's a lot harder when you have to share your own toys. And Hannah and Zeke kind of had a head up on that with having to learn how to share their own toys right there in their home instead of having to wait until somebody comes over to really learn that hard lesson.
Yeah,
True.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Maddie Putnam, what is your favorite thing about homeschooling? Go ahead.
Our favorite thing.
Well, for me, I'd name it to two things. It works really well, like they're getting a great education, and the flexibility.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the ability to really know where my child is academically and learning wise, like I really have a good grasp on what my kids are interested in and how well they're learning things.
Yeah. I think that one of the things I like about it is like a lot of people assume that you need to send them to the professionals to have the professionals do it. But what I get by doing the homeschooling with kids is that I get to learn along with them. And so even things like I forgot the names of the five oceans, in geography. Like I could name the Atlantic and the Pacific, but now I know all five of them. And so it's like I get to learn along with them. And I think it's a pretty cool dynamic when the kids see that dad is learning with them. Like this is the thing we're doing together, rather than it's always like expert driven, expert down, listen to me. And I like it that I get to build relationships with my kids, and we get to integrate our life, I guess, is rather than having like your school scheduled and your work place and then your family time and then your vacation time, your rest time, like everything's like work for us anyway. Work is integrated with school, it's integrated with play and rest. Like we're all kind of doing this stuff together, and it's a little less like having compartments of your life.
Yeah.
Well, also with the QuadSquad video making, like one of the reasons we've continued to that and made it such a big focus is because for every video they do, they have to learn the topic. Like our two oldest boys won the science fair here in Cayman last year. They got first prize because they could so well articulate the whole process and the model and what they were doing. And if we hadn't done the video, they wouldn't have had that dedicated focus. So there's a real synergy between the benefits of doing the videos, which other kids can benefit from, as well as the homeschool.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you see another question you want to do?
Hi, Urban Acolyte TV.
Urban. Oh, is Prince here? Well, this is from Erica. Where/how do you find what your child needs to know for each age/grade level? How would I begin looking for that info for my own child?
That's for you. By the way, you talk about sending your kids to professionals. Well, I consider my wife the most professional, so I'm lucky. My kids go to a professional every day.
Yeah. But she gets paid far less than a school teacher would.
That's true. But in Cayman, she's saving us a lot of money. So
Oh, okay. Yep. So you want to talk about what we do with the scope and sequence?
Oh, yeah. I just looked up on our local school district because that's who we have to let know we're homeschooling. I just looked up their scope and sequence on the local school website to see what grade levels should be achieving what, and then we just go off of that.
Yeah, we are originally from Ontario, Canada. And so I figure if we ever move back there, we'd like to be along similar lines as others in Ontario. So I go every year, I look up the Ontario curriculum for the grade level, and I make sure that, and it's pages and pages. And I make sure, along the lines of what they're doing, as well as my mom taught grade 1 for years and years. So at the beginning, I think homeschooling's hardest at the beginning, the first few years, because you're going, am I doing this right? Are they learning what they're supposed to learn? Are they keeping up with other kids? Like there's a lot of questioning and self-doubt that can come in. And, you know, it was really helpful for me to ask my mom or ask other teachers that I knew, you know, is this normal? Are we keeping up with where we're supposed to be? So I think it's really important to have some people around that you can go and ask those questions to, because it's inevitable that you're going to be wondering if you're on par with where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
With you saying the scope and sequence was pages and pages and pages, it reminded me. Ours is too. It's pretty long, but the cool thing is it breaks it down. Like this is what they're doing this 6 weeks. This is what they're doing the second 6 weeks, and so it gives you like within this amount of time teach them this, and then this amount of time teach them that. So.
And we found that like our kids pick up way more than we think they do when they're learning at home with us as parents and stuff. Like we didn't homeschool for months while you were super pregnant at the end of the pregnancy with the twins, and then even the first month or 2 after they were born, we were like, we just don't have the capacity to do this right now. And so I think there's like a tendency, Dan and I are thinking like, oh, are they falling behind? Like we don't know. And then we got out the little book and said, all right, well, here's where you're supposed to be at, and they were like 80% of the way there, just like stuff they're just picking up and learning anyway. Now we had to teach them some things, but they pick up on it like super quick. And yeah. Zoe McKinney asks, how many hours of homeschool? Like, so how much time do you guys spend homeschooling? A day, a week, whatever?
So, okay, I'll give you our typical day. So the night before, I'll put out anything that Ethan and Justin are 10 and 8, and then Ashley's 4. So I'll put out anything they can do independently, and they wake up at 6:30 on their own, and I just have their stacks out there on the table. So they'll go out and quietly just start doing their independent work.
Wow.
And so then we'll have breakfast at like 8 or something. So they've already done like an hour and a half of their schooling on their own. And then afterwards, between breakfast and lunch, we'll do stuff that we have to do together that I teach them, like the sciences or history, or, you know, if they have issues with their math or anything like that. And then we're generally done, like we'll maybe save their reading for after lunch, and then we're done.
And I'll do sports with them, like every day in Cayman, we'd go swimming, or we'll do, we're Canadians, so we got them playing hockey. It's not on a rink, but it's on rollerblades, so we'll practice with the sticks, or, take them for a walk, try to get some physical stuff in there as well.
So do you do a lot of mango hunting?
No.
That's what we would totally be doing.
Go to 7 Mile Beach, which is the nicest beach in the world, and it's 5 minutes from our house. So we do stuff like that.
We should do a collab at your house sometime.
Come on down, you're all
on the beach. Brianna Lazier, how do you do homeschool with little ones around?
Nap time.
Nap time.
Yeah, there you go. For the parents?
Well, with the boys doing so much of their independent work early in the morning, and then Brandon having an hour or two in the morning, an hour or two in the afternoon, there's some flexibility there. I now work from home, and so I can, blend in there a little bit if there needs to be some dedicated time on a project.
Yeah, it's tough with little ones though, because and Danny, you probably find this too, like in the morning, I'm being pulled 4 different directions by 4 different children because they all need something at the exact same time. So it's kind of, I find that being organized really helps me, knowing exactly what I got to do with each child. But sometimes it helps to pair up an older child with a younger one so they can be playing and doing something while you're working with one of the other kids. And you know that they're being somewhat safe. And then we save all our hardest things for when Brandon's napping, just because then we don't have as many distractions.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about older kids learning how to read. I'm like, can you please go read a book to so-and-so? And they're like, sure. So they get practice, and the other younger one gets entertained. So.
They'll be confused by the story because some of the words weren't read right, but,
they get the gist of it. There's pictures.
You having 6 is even, 30% or 50% harder than what we've got with 4.
Yeah. Well, so while Toby's napping is how we do it. And then when Toby's not napping, he's at the age where he just sees whatever, and he's our 1-year-old. He just sees what other people are doing, and wants to do that. So he is very content. He'll sit, as long as we're sitting at the kitchen table working on our Explode the Code books, journals, and workbooks and things like that. He's very content to sit there with a crayon and a coloring book and look like he's working. He's coloring, but that's for him, for a
That's work.
1-year-old. Yeah, he's learning coordination and
His own
stuff.
version of school.
Yeah, so he just sits in colors as long as we're sitting there too. He thinks he's one of the big kids. So that's tended to work pretty well. And then when I'm doing stuff just with Hannah and Zeke, we put Hallie on abcmouse.com, and she's usually pretty content working on there through her learning
Screen
path.
time helps a lot. Well, I also think that the younger kids actually accelerate in their learning because they're trying to keep up with the older kids. Like, I know that Justin's math skills are further ahead because he's following what Ethan's doing, and Ashley's likewise.
Yeah, Hallie at 3 has learned some of the stuff that Hannah and Zeke can do just because she's around it and listening to it. And I'm like shocked whenever she answers a question before they do.
Yeah, and then sometimes Hannah knows stuff that we didn't even teach her yet, and we're like, well, we can just skip all that then. Like, where'd you learn that? Oh, I learned it from abcmouse.com or TV, PBS Kids, something
They
like.
all graduate at the same time because they just accelerate.
Right. Jennifer Sparks, do you worry that some subjects might be hard even for you as parents, like algebra? To me, when mixing numbers and letters, I'm lost. To me, the logic is figuring a monthly budget. Yeah, so the way that worked for me, Jennifer, because I was homeschooled growing up, is when I got to stuff like that my parents didn't know, either one of two things happened. Either one, my parents would learn it with me, and we would learn it together, or two, I would learn it on my own through like books or videos or something. And then if I needed help, there was a family friend of ours who was a pretty smart guy, and I would just go over to his house and would give him babysitting for an evening for free. And then when him and his wife would get back, then he would help me with my schoolwork. So that's how we handled it. I like it when the parents learn with the kids, as long as that makes sense, where like the parent doesn't have to spend all day trying to learn it too. You're like, no longer time effective anymore. But for right now, I like learning oceans and geography and stuff that I, had forgotten or never learned.
It's like being back in school again. I mean, it's fun because I find I learn and I'm retaining a lot more than I did when I was in school even.
Yeah.
We went with the teaching textbook program this year for math, and I was a little dicey on it because I wasn't so sure that I liked the idea of a computer teaching the kids rather than me teaching the kids and being part of it and seeing all I just wasn't sure if that would be very effective.
Yeah.
But time-wise, having 4 kids, I needed to be able to dish off some of the things. And it's actually been really effective for us. And Ethan's in grade 5 math, so he's not in the hard math yet. But personally, I think that I'm just going to have to learn along with them so I can keep up and help out. And yeah, if it gets too difficult, we're going to have to find somebody who can help teach us both so that, again, I can still learn so that I can help.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like when we do languages with the kids, like I kind of want to learn whatever language they learn with them.
Yeah.
Because I really struggle with languages, and I think it would be good for the kids to see their dad struggle with something with them. But I also like actually want to learn it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Samantha asked earlier, do you think the kids do better than in real school? So do they do better with homeschooling than real school? I think it depends on the kid. We're not really there yet. To be able to say which way is going to be better or not with them. But so far, homeschooling is working well.
I don't like to toot my own horn, but I was homeschooled my whole life, and I feel like I was way like years ahead of my peers. I feel like when so we did our athletics through the public school system, and I remember as a 9th grader being in the public school wrestling team, and seniors, like we'd be on the bus going to a wrestling meet or something, and the seniors, like other kids, would be working on homework, and they would be asking me to help them with questions that I thought were like, I learned that in 7th grade, and you're a senior learning this now, Not with everything, but it made me feel very confident that I was doing just fine. So that's not all. I mean, it depends, but.
like every kid is different and the teaching methods are different. So it may not work out great for every kid in homeschool. But I know
Right.
from observing our kids, I would say they're much further ahead than they would have been if they were in the regular school system.
Yeah. Yeah, and ahead is all relative too, because sometimes like our kids, there's some who was asking the question about struggling. Oh yeah, Kendra Roberts. You know, sometimes our kids don't like as like they need more time to work on a subject. Whereas if they're in school, they're forced to like just stay at a certain pace with 30 other kids, regardless. And for us, like we can slow down and spend more time. But there's other concepts that our kids just boom, they get it, and we're ready to move on. And if they were in a classroom with 30 other kids, they would be held back at that point. You know, so I think it depends on the kid, depends on the subject. And I think it also kind of depends on what the parents do. There's always those homeschoolers who are super lazy and don't really work well, and they just took their kids out of school because they were kicked out of school. So there's always exceptions to every rule. But for us, I feel like our kids are probably a little bit behind in some things, but also like 2 years ahead in other things. So
Yeah, I think that's just natural for what happens. And you have a faith, hope, love in here commented homeschooling allows you to be sure your child is getting the concept. And when they do, you move on. And if not, you spend more time. And that's so true.
Yep.
You figure out pretty quickly what they're really learning. And, one of the things we've enjoyed about homeschooling is we don't have to stick with typical academic, math, science, geography, history. Like we have one day a week that we call our creative day. And it was because I felt we weren't getting as much artistic types of things. But on creative day, we will build, a Lego Mindstorms. We will, I'll give them a Lego challenge where they have to build a bridge X length with, be able to bear a weight. Or we'll do an art project, or we'll cook or bake something. And that's where Ethan really started to love things in the kitchen, which is, he hosts our kitchen adventures on our QuadSquad channel. But it gives a lot of flexibility that you wouldn't normally have. And you start to learn their strengths, and you can kind of gear them towards that even deeper if you want.
yeah, cool. You see one or two more questions you want to do here?
I like Sapphire's question. When you do homeschool, do you sometimes think your kids are growing up too fast?
Well, don't kids grow up too fast no matter what? They grow fast.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the thing like, well, your kids are getting too mature too quickly, or you're giving them too much responsibility, or expecting too much for them. And it's just like such a subjective question, because I know where they're coming from, but I have found that when you set standards high, like kids can step up to it.
But there's also the expectation just recently that children should have an adolescence age.
Oh yeah, Western civilization is teenage years don't exist. Adolescence doesn't exist in like Eastern cultures. You go from boyhood to manhood in the course of an hour and a half during your bar mitzvah or what do the Indian people call it?
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, but there's not a time for you to be a rebellious teenager.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
which is a lot healthier for people too. Plus, like I was talking to Chelsea Crockett over CVX Live, and talking to her about like what she's learned. I'm not so sure if she is or not.
She seems like she could be.
She seems like she would be. But I was talking to her because she started her YouTube channel when she was 13, and she's 18 now. So for the last 5 years, she's been learning business because of her YouTube channel and making an income on it. And like, that's a huge thing to have behind you. And she already knows, like, she's going to college this fall for the first time, and she knows what she wants to major in. Like, there's not this finding yourself time that she's going to be wasting all this money going to school because she doesn't know what she wants to do. She already has a business that she started, and she's going to go to school for business to learn more about it and make her business better. And I think that's amazing. That's a great way to start your adult life, by having a path already carved out for you and knowing what you want to do, instead of becoming an adult and be like, oh shoot, now what do I do?
Yeah. Little plug for next week. She and her parents are going to be on our live stream next week to hang out with you guys. So that'll be fun. We'll talk about building relationships with your kids before they get old, when they get old. Because they have like a solid relationship from what we saw as a parent and adult. And we want to talk about how did you do that? How did you get there? So The other question, though, the way I think about that question, though, is what is the ideal childhood, right? And we all have these different ideas of like what is the most ideal childhood, and some people like have different expectations of what they should have for a child, and I don't know. I think that's been changing a lot since the Industrial Revolution, so recently in history, and I guess I don't really think that the way most people think the ideal childhood now is like the only way it could be,
Right.
Let's do one more question. Oh, sorry. You have something to add to that?
Quickly say, like, one of the reasons we're doing QuadSquad is because about a year and a half ago, our kids' favorite show was Shark Tank, and they wanted to have their own. And we looked at a few different options, and about a year ago, we as a family decided to really commit to the QuadSquad, and we rebranded it and focused on it. And the reason we do that kind of stuff is because the kids are learning about business. Like last year, we took them to a company that we did a video for. They met the CEO. They're learning things. They're learning about marketing. They're learning these skills. And these things I don't think can be taught too young. I had my first business when I was 13. And I'm glad to see the boys at even 8 and 9 learning these terminologies and experiences.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You see one other question or anything? Mm-hmm. Cool. Why don't you guys tell us about your channel one more time for people who joined in late? If you guys don't know who the QuadSquad is, they are...
Okay. Wow, the QuadSquad are our 4 kids, Ethan, Ashley, Brandon, and Justin. And we have about 75 plus videos on there that are all educational. Our theme is learn, craft, cook, play, awaken the genius within. And each of the kids either have their own focus sub-channel or playlist area, like Ashley with Craft Time or Ethan with his kitchen adventures. But they all participate in different videos to help teach other kids. And it's just exciting because it helps us improve our homeschooling, and it helps the kids help other kids learn.
Hang on, I'll call the kids in one last time.
Okay. There's a link to their channel in the description below, or an interactive card. You guys can go check them out. One other thing while Kathleen's getting the kids is I see some people in chat have talked about this, but this text you see on screen, text movies to 43506. What that lets you do is Dan and I will send you, or I should say, not both of us together. One of us will send you a text message notification about an hour before we go live here, just as a reminder, because some of you guys are like, after we post these videos, you're like, oh, I wish I had known this was going to be live, or oh, I wish I would have known about this, or I can't believe I missed it again, that type of thing. So it's free. It doesn't cost you anything other than the cost of a text message, I suppose. And you can unsubscribe, stop at any time. If you're an international viewer, you can use there's a link in the description. Go to text.schmovies.tv and you can enter in your email address instead, and we'll just send you an email that way. So we'd love to have you guys get those notifications when we go lives, and then whenever you're on the go, you just kind of have an idea of like what's going on at what time. Are you about to do it?
Should I sign up for it?
Dana's not even on our text message list. I am. So... And then you can reply to those text messages. Oh, did you just do? Oh,
I just did it. Did you get buzzed?
Oh no, that's the weather.
Oh, that'd be really
Midweek
funny.
Thunderstorms are kicking in.
That'd be hilarious if you got a text every time somebody signed up.
No, I didn't think that would work that way. So these are your kids. Introduce your kids to us real quick again.
Okay, we got Ethan.
Hi.
Justin.
Hi.
Ashley. There we go, Ashley.
Ashley.
And Brandon. There we go.
Hi, Brandon.
That's the QuadSquad.
The QuadSquad. Awesome. Well, it's great to hang out with you guys. Thank you for talking with us about homeschooling. And hey, Justin J. They all barely fit on screen. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Hannah S. The twins are upstairs sleeping. I'm sorry?
I was just saying thank you for hosting us, and come on down to the Cayman Islands anytime.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
And Hannah Greer, awesome. You're getting those notifications. And it'll be great to keep you guys up to date, because we're going to be doing these live streams twice a week, as you guys know. Tuesday nights, kind of more of an adult conversation. And then on Thursday afternoons, it's just kind of crazy, actually. We're trying to tone it down, but our kids are in it. And trying to keep 6 kids, 6 and under, all, semi...
It's very short live videos.
Yeah, they're short. So get the text message notification to get them so you can join us. And, Hannah, say, Danny, you're so pretty. She is. I agree. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and we will see you guys tomorrow for our vlog where we talk a little bit about a new business that I am starting. So we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.